Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today is a glorious day. Club football is back. Celtic against Ross County this weekend up in Dingwall. It's going to be an interesting one. We've had a couple of weeks off, but I'm sure the team are ready to get back into the swing of things. We're going to discuss my preview, my predictions and everything else for the game this weekend. I'm just so happy that the international break is over. Well, as I said before the intro, the international break is done. Celtic return to league action at the weekend. We're coming up now for a very busy schedule. Of course, we have those two games in hand to play in amongst the season. We've got St Mirren on Wednesday night. It's not going to be easy for Celtic. The league season has been really interesting since starting back up. Ross County, a team who have surprised probably a lot of people since starting the season. They've went on and showed that they're not going to be down at the bottom end if they can keep this form up, and I'm sure they're going to give Celtic a tough test this weekend. Dingwall is a place that we go to and get decent results. I'm quietly confident that we'll go up there and put a good few goals past them, but it all comes down to the stubbornness from the man in charge, Neil Lennon. Will we finally see a change of system? Will he finally play two up front? There's a lot of questions surrounding the game, but ultimately we're looking at a team now which is in a very good position. We've got players fit, we've got new signings. Interestingly enough, we might see the debuts of both David Turnbull and Shane Duffy. It's really exciting, and hopefully this is the time now in the position where we can forge on and we can make a name for ourselves as the best team in the country ultimately. You know, that we know we're already that, but there's been doubts. You know, the whole season, the start to the season, the first few weeks, there's been that lingering question whether or not we're still good enough, or, you know, if Rangers overtaking us. It's a lot of nonsense if you ask me. I think that, you know, August for Celtic is what January is for Rangers. We've shown that over the past few years. We've struggled in the start of the season. We've been poor. We've not scored enough goals, and it was a real kind of replica this year of what we had last year. But now I think it's time to put that behind us. It's time now to play our best squad and make sure we get the results, get goals, and put Ross County to task at the weekend. Look, we've got to put them to the sword. We've got to be ruthless. We've got to be aggressive. I say make a name for ourselves like we haven't just won 9 straight league titles and 10 straight trophies, but by the way the media are making it out, and by the way opposition fans are making it out, and by the way some of our own fans are making it out, is that we've burnt out and we're not the same. Look, let's just put all that to bed and make sure we get a good result at the weekend. Of course, the last game was massively important for Celtic to try and silence a lot of those critics. A 3-0 win against Motherwell, and a game which really came to life in the second half. The first half we seen it wasn't quite working. We had that one-man up front system where we weren't playing a striker. Ryan Christie was up front. Now that problem is gone. We've got fit strikers. We've seen in the second half when Patrick Klimala came into the game, and then later on Albion Ayeti, how good we are when we've got the right players on the park. First half was a bit lifeless. Forrest got a goal, which was really good for him and his confidence. But when Klimala came on, despite the chances that he missed, and despite maybe lacking that clinical side of his game, he still came on and changed a massive part of the game and made it a lot more entertaining and a lot more lively for us. And then Ayeti came on, got a goal, and really in the second half we showed how good we can be and how we should be playing for the remainder of this season, and ultimately how we should be playing over the next few games, because we need to get the job done early. We can't be having this nonsense where we're taking 40-45 minutes to break down a team. We need to get right into it, and the way we're going to do that is by having those two strikers up front. We need to pick up exactly where we left off in that game. It was very impressive, that second half. Motherwell didn't really have much of a look in. We were very authoritative. And even when you see somebody like Christopher Jullien getting forward the way he did to score the third goal at the death of the game, that showed the intent and the aggression in the side. And that's where we need to pick up from. Everything that we learned in the second half of that game is what we need to use. We can't be lackadaisical, we can't be complacent. And as much as we're talking about going forward, that's going back as well, which makes it very interesting to have Shane Duffy coming into the team. Of course, Duffy coming into the team is massive. You know, we've got a great depth of centre-halves now. At the start of the season, it was very annoying knowing that we lost Semenovic and knowing that people were maybe want to leave the club, aka Christopher Ajer. We weren't too sure where we were, but we've brought in now someone who's an international, a man who's captained his country, and someone who's played at the highest level in the Premier League for a team like Brighton. So, you know, him coming into the team, I don't think is far-fetched. Him starting the game is exactly what I want to see, and it brings a real it's a real solid addition to that back line. There's a real togetherness now, I think, between the styles of player. You know, you've got Jullien, you've got Ajer, you've got Duffy, who I think complement each other nicely. Duffy is exactly what we've needed in that no-nonsense player. Ayer's a guy who likes to play with the ball, likes to move forward if he can, and Julian, is a real threat in the air moving forward. And defensively, when he's on his day, he's one of the best in the league. And we've seen that by a man who got into the team of the season last year. So you've got 3 great players there, and 3 players should be able to handle himself. And then off the back of that, you've got someone like Nir Baton, who also is an international, been playing at a really good level for Israel. He was their best player over the international break, and he's been nothing but solid for Celtic as well. We've seen that in the games he was chose to play over Christopher Ajer before we went into this break. So now we've got 4 players there. You've got Elamed too, who can play centre-half. That's 5 players of a really good calibre that we've got to our disposal at the back. Moving forward, there's still additions to be made, but with strikers in the team, it's going to be great. No Ryan Christie up front this time. This should be us going out, scoring as many goals as possible, and starting to see, hopefully, the class partnership of Albion Ayeti and Odsonne Edouard. If that doesn't get used in this game, if we don't start them, because we know they're fit now, we've seen it, there is no way Neil Lennon can come out in a press conference and say, I don't think Patrick Kamala's match fit, I don't think Ayeti's match fit. Both of them were playing over the international break. Kamala was starting games for the Poland under-21s. Ayeti, yes, only had 15 minutes for Switzerland, but Ayeti's now scored 2 goals in 2 league games for Celtic, played in an international break. If Lennon tries to say these guys aren't match fit after weeks now of getting themselves together in training and getting minutes on the park in competitive football, then I just don't know what Neil Lennon's, that snus is strong. That's all I can say. Now the opponents, Ross County, I was lucky enough to watch their last game in the Talk Scottish Football live stream, 3 o'clock kickoff against Livingston it was. They went away to the Tony Macaroni Arena and they looked a shell of themselves. From what they've started the season like anyway, they were nothing like that. Livingston took the game to them. They were pressing them very high. The aggression was there, and what I learned from that is if we do the same as what Livingston can do, and this is Livingston with losing Lyndon Dykes and no Anthony Stokes in the park as well, keep in mind, if they can do that, Celtic can do that. Ross County looked clueless throughout the whole game. I think they had 1 shot on target. They just looked like they had no fresh ideas. They were under the caution. This was even a Livingston side who were 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go and hadn't had a win all season. Were still pressing them and still pushing forward. They weren't sitting deep, they weren't trapping the ball in the corner, they were still going for more goals. And Ross County looked scared, they looked worried. So if a team like Livingston can do it, yes, we can too. Granted, yes, I understand they were on the plastic park, it's difficult, it's a long journey, blah blah blah. Now Ross County are home, their own stadium, it can make a difference, but we're miles better than the opposition. Now, granted, what a start to the season Ross County have had. They've defied all expectation. I predicted them to finish rock bottom. They've now started the season with 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. Their start has been solid to say the least. And the guys to look out for, Billy Mackay and Ross Stewart, they can cause bother. Now, that's where we need to watch ourselves at the back. Yes, it's all well and good saying now we've got solid defenders. We've got Duffy, we've got Ajer, we've got Julian, we've got Beaton, whatever. These are guys that are capable of taking complacent moments, getting in behind these defenders and causing problems for Barkas between the sticks. And Ross Stewart has showed that throughout the start of the season. Ross Stewart getting rightly linked away with bigger moves because of how good he has been for Ross County. It's typical of Celtic in moments of sheer stupidity to give away silly goals, and they're 2 players who will capitalise on that. Ross Stewart and Billy Mackay, we need to look out for them. We need to be solid at the back. And you've got these guys in the wings as well. Of course, we might have Frimpong, we might have Forrest, we don't know. We've got Taylor on the other side. As much as we obviously like them to get forward, and their priority in this style is to get forward, you see that, we see how much Frimpong bombs up that right-hand side. They need to watch over those wings too, because Stewart is a player who, yes, has been mostly deployed in the middle for the start of this season. He can drift out wide and cause problems too. So Ross County, very solid start to the season. They'll be looking to pick up on a disappointing loss, because that game against Livingston was one of those games where they started their season so well, they were going into it almost expected to win. In their heads, not so much their heads, but the heads of Ross County fans, perhaps, and other fans in the league, you have been thinking Ross County will take this because Livingston had such a poor start. So Ross County will want to bounce back. Will they do it against Celtic? I hope not, but the intention will be there. So we need to get the job done early. In our 3 games against Ross County last season, we were emphatic. They never caused a problem, and I'm hoping that remains the same for the game at the weekend. We won 6-0 at Celtic Park, we won 4-1 up in Dingwall, and then we came back to Celtic Park for the final time and beat them 3-0. And in those games, Odsonne Edouard bagged 4 goals in 3 games against Ross County. He loves playing them. Edouard hopefully will be right up to speed. I mean, he's coming off the back of scoring 2 goals on international duty for France unders. So, you know what? I'm feeling very confident. And if we can if Neil Lennon can channel any form of that form that we had against Ross County last season, then we should be winning this no problem, as you would expect us to, coming into such a packed fixture list where we need to get the points and we need to get goals. Just realised how long I've been speaking for. So my starting 11 prediction, look, it's simple for me. I know I've said it week in, week out with these match previews, and it seems like the team haven't been going for it. Neil Lennon hasn't been listening to it. Everything I say, go forward, be intense, blah, blah, blah. Nah, it's not happening. Neil Lennon, we're playing Christie up front. This is the time. This is it. You've got to go for the 3-5-2 now. You've seen the bother we had before the break. This is a fresh start. This is almost like another start to the season. We've not been terrible. We're ultimately still on the same amount of points as Rangers, despite, when they were at this point, when they played the same amount of games as what Celtic have played to now, we're on the same amount of points. So it's not that bad in the grand scheme of things. But now we need to make a really big statement. 3-5-2. Go for it. Lennon, just go for it. For me, Barkas in goals, of course, another man who was playing on international duty. The back three, I'm feeling Beaton this weekend. I think Beaton might come in over Ayer, considering the speculation that Ayer is looking for a move away. So I think it could be Beaton, Julian and Duffy to start at the back. It'll be really exciting to see Duffy come in. Frimpong out on that right-hand side with Taylor out on the left. Obviously a lot of questions surrounding whether or not we'll try bringing a new left-hand sided defender. You've got Taylor there just now, but that's about it. We were looking at Baka from PSG. That looks to be collapsing, or look to have collapsed, I should say. But there are other options on the table. But Taylor and Frimpong as the wing-backs. In the middle, ultimately, I think Brown should be dropped. I don't think he will. I think Lennon will continue to start Brown. And I think we'll see the midfield three of Brown, McGregor and Ncham. I think that's the three we'll see. And obviously I think the roles will kind of switch up throughout the game between Ncham and McGregor as to who goes further up and all the rest of it. And then up front, let's get it started. Let's get the partnership to begin and hopefully blossom into something special. Edouard, Ayeti, those two up front. I think they have to be paired together right from the off. We need to develop this. We've got a massive few weeks ahead of us. Of course, it will culminate when we go to play Rangers on the 17th of October. So, there's a lot of things we've got to look out for moving forward, never mind just this weekend. But let's take it a game at a time. Let's make sure we get the result this weekend and make sure we're intense enough to go and score a good few goals. Score prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Celtic win. I think defensively we should be strong enough to keep them out, despite me talking about the threats of Mackay and Stewart. They looked weak against Livingston, and if we press them hard enough, I think they'll be as lifeless as they were against Livingston. So that's all we have to do. And that's it. That's my preview. That's my predictions for the game this weekend against Ross County. Thank goodness the club football is back. Hopefully it means you viewers are back on side with the channel. Also, let me know your thoughts for the game this weekend in the comments below. If you have enjoyed, you know what to do. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.